Markets are at a turning point. Today's PCE data could set the tone for rate cuts and rallies, and recent big moves in Pyth, and Link signal the early stages of an altcoin season. So what alt should we be watching, and what can we expect for the upcoming month? This is your Altcoin Buzz News. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Cody, and if you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when we drop latest content. Follow us on Twitter, altcoinbuzz.io, and as always, is not financial advice, and wish the best of luck in your crypto ventures. Also, make sure to join us for our X Spaces Tuesday to Friday at 10 a.m. EST, link down below. Alright, good morning guys, happy Friday. So Bitcoin is just kind of hovering around this $110,000 area. It keeps chopping around between $110,000 and $112,000. And I think a lot of it has to do with what's coming out today, which is the PCE data. So today we have US PCE and core PCE at 8:30 a.m. EST. It's the Fed's preferred inflation metric. This print will be watched closely. The consensus is that PCE is at 2.6% and the core PCE at 2.9%. So we're going to see what happens with that today. It seems like Bitcoin is kind of just waiting to see what happens. But at the same time, as Bitcoin is chopping sideways, Bitcoin dominance is going down and different alts are starting to pop off. We're starting to see the altcoin season, or at least in a few select alts. So we're going to be talking about different altcoins and the different altcoin rotations going on today. But first, before that, we have Japan's MetaPlanet plans to raise $880 million and deploy $837 million to buy more Bitcoin between September and October, so in the next month or two. Then we have Virtual Bacon saying Bitcoin dominance is falling. That means alt season is here. And if you don't have a plan, you'll get wrecked. Here's mine. So he says, everyone wonders how long this bull run will last. Past cycles have topped 600 days after the halving, which will mean the end of 2025. But Bitcoin isn't near euphoria yet. It would need to be 180,000 plus this year, and that's unlikely. I expect this run to extend into mid-2026. The next question is how high Bitcoin can go. My base case is 200k plus. This comes from historic multipliers plus new drivers, ETFs, institutions, and liquidity. 200k isn't a moonshot, it's my conservative baseline. Then there's a bigger challenge is knowing when it ends. I use one rule, the 50-week SMA. Bitcoin has respected it every cycle. It's now at $94,000 and rising. If Bitcoin closes below that line, the bull run is done, even if 200k hasn't hit. So what exactly is altcoin season? It's when altcoins outperform Bitcoin altogether. Officially, that means 75% of the top 50 to 100 alts beat Bitcoin over 90 days. That's the period when even picking random large caps usually works. So how do you confirm an alt season is real? The two signals, the altcoin season index, which is a percentage of alts beating Bitcoin, and Bitcoin dominance is in a downtrend with alts leading. Right now, that dominance is falling on the weekly chart, and that's why we're in alt season. So how does money actually flow in alt season? It always moves in stages. Large caps like ETH, Sol, XRP, BNB, and Doge. Then mid caps in the top 50 to 100, narratives like AI and gaming. And then small caps like memes and high risk. Now, what kind of returns are realistic? My large cap targets are ETH to 10 to 12k, Sol to 600 to 800, and XRP to 6 to 8, with a stretch to $10. That's a 2 to 3x from here. Mid caps a 4 to 5x. Top 100, 5 to 8x. 10x plus streams usually mean extreme small cap risk. And he says, how long will alt season last this time? In 2017, it was 10 months. In 2021, it was 11 months. This cycle started August 2025. I expect mid to late 2026 as the cutoff. Gains will mostly be made well before then. So how do I know when the alt season is over? Two signals. Alt season index is under 75% outperforming Bitcoin, and Bitcoin dominance flips into a weekly uptrend, higher highs and higher lows. That's the exit signal. Even if targets aren't hit, I'll exit all alts and Bitcoin dominance reverses. Now, what if Bitcoin breaks down before alts peak? Then it's game over. If Bitcoin closes below the 50-week SMA, I exit alts immediately, and Bitcoin sets the floor for the entire market. Now, the goal isn't to chase every pump, it's to follow a process. Bitcoin peaks in 2026, money flows to Bitcoin, large cap, mid caps, and small caps, exit when the dominance flips or target hits, and then stack Bitcoin for the next decade. That is it. And so pretty good overall guide from a Virtual Bacon. Then we also have Tommy Lee saying momentum trade isn't over. While there's panic in the dip, he told clients to hold or buy. He points to AI as the proof the rally still has room to run.
I mean, you've been bullish, you've stayed long, you've stayed strong. What are you seeing maybe that some others are missing? I don't know.
Well, I think too many people are tied to their own biases. So like when markets were falling in February to April, then in their own portfolios, they were suffering damage. And as you know, that gets into people's sort of psychology because no one likes to lose money. It's more painful to lose $1 than to gain, than the joy of gaining $1. But what we did was we took a step back and said, you know, with all the forces at work, are we really going to drive the economy off a cliff? And if the answer was no, then we know that at those points of fear, that's when, as hard as it is to do, is you either have to hold on or buy. And that was our advice to clients.
Alts are finally on the move from what's been a tough 2025 so far. People are getting the feeling that alt season will finally start soon, if not right now. Sui is having a great 2025 so far, bucking the trend for most of the first half of the year while still growing now. It's quickly become one of the leading alts in the market and is up over 370% in the last 12 months. So let's find out why. Sui is killing it in all the big sectors it supports, like DeFi, where Sui nearly crossed $2 billion in TVL and hit $1.5 billion in record time. Sui also has some of the fastest stablecoin growth of any chain, so people are using it for real transactions. And then Walrus is changing the game in decentralized data storage. Its token launch was a big hit, and Seal and Nautilus are making things more secure and private. And then there's the Sui Play OX1, which is coming in September and is now officially sold out with over 10,000 pre-orders. Sui even has a small but growing meme coin market for meme coin lovers. So if you haven't used Sui lately, then come give it a try and follow Sui's X account for all the latest updates. And then moving on to some big news from yesterday, we have Chainlink just partnered with the U.S. Department of Commerce to put the official government macroeconomic data on chain. GDP, inflation, or PCE consumption, all fed directly on chain through Link. Chainlink isn't just an oracle, it's becoming the infrastructure of global finance. We also have Chainlink saying we're excited to work with the U.S. Department of Commerce to bring key government economic data on chain with Arbitrum, AVAX, Base, and multiple other chains. And then Quinton also says tomorrow's time for another Link deposit in the Chainlink Reserve. The first few deposits were around $1 million each, and this translates to $50 million annualized. But we can expect the revenue to potentially tenfold in the coming year with all the major integrations ramping up. I wouldn't be surprised that in a year from now, we'll see $10 million deposits per week, translating to $500 million annualized. Imagine the buying pressure on Link, which currently has a market cap of $16.6 billion. And then CryptoRS shares Caliber, an Arizona-based real estate asset management firm, is the first publicly traded company to start a Link treasury. The CWD shares jumped nearly 60% today, as the price of Link rose 2.5%. So you can see here, it shot up their stock as they are now doing a Link treasury. We also have Chris Barrett saying Chainlink now secures $82.469 billion in Ethereum DeFi. That's almost $5 billion more than yesterday. Now, Chainlink did have a pump on this yesterday, but it has been fully retraced, which is not what we want to see. So right now, we're actually starting to see some kind of like local top distribution on Chainlink, and this is not what you want to see. So this is a classic pattern where once we get to these highs, well, let me first go to the higher time frame. We swept this high over here around $26, $27. We swept this high, and then we closed the daily back below here, which is not ideal. So that overall is not good. It looks like Chainlink's going to need a little bit of time to correct, but it has been on this huge move up, and it was one of the first movers. So now the money is starting to rotate into other altcoins. So why this is not good for Chainlink is if we go to the lower time frames here, you can see this is distribution. When we pump up, we reject. We pump up, reject, pump up, reject, pump, and it gets like even faster each time. Now we're starting to make lower highs, and so now we're in a downtrend, and we're breaking market structure. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we then I wouldn't be surprised if we needed time to cool off for Chainlink, and we come back down here towards around $21.50 for Chainlink, and have a little bit of time to cool off. We are making these lower highs here. We're in a down trending market structure. We're not having these huge parabolic moves anymore. You can see the moves are getting smaller, and they're getting reversed much quicker. And so all of that leads me to believe this is a local top, at least for Chainlink. I think it needs time to consolidate. It's probably going to come down here, maybe towards $21.50, and then maybe continue even higher. I do think the Chainlink Reserve and all the companies helping it will definitely help in the future, and maybe we can go to new all-time highs. Beyond $50, what was before. But I think it does need time to cool off, because this was a pretty big run from just about a month ago. At the beginning of August, we were at $15, and we went all the way up towards $27. So almost a 2x on a pretty big asset. So I think Chainlink needs time to cool off. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it down here in the near term, especially if Bitcoin wants to continue lower. And then another Oracle service provider, we have the U.S. Department of Commerce collaborates with the Pyth network to put GDP and other economic data on chain. So Pyth is Chainlink, but on, specifically Solana, and it's a much smaller version of Chainlink, but it has more room to grow. And so with Pyth network saying the U.S. Department of Commerce has selected Pyth network to verify and distribute economic data on chain. Pyth has been working closely with the Department of Commerce and is honored to be chosen as official data provider in this historic initiative. With 100 plus blockchains, 600 plus apps, and a trusted model built on openness and security, Pyth is the ideal protocol for the U.S. government's on-chain push. Pyth will initially offer quarterly releases of the GDP going back 5 years and anticipates expanding this initiative to support a broader range of economic data sets. And Pyth also shares 23 U.S. GDP data points are live permissionlessly on 100 plus chains. Pyth is bringing the price of everything everywhere. So Pyth is a much smaller market cap, Chainlink, and it pumped like crazy yesterday. So we had this 100 and almost 15% pump on Pyth yesterday, As you can see, Chainlink had maybe a, what was this? This was a, a modest 10% on Chainlink yesterday. And then so we had 115% on Pyth yesterday, but it came right up into this high time frame level of resistance around, almost 25 cents. And it rejected there. And so this is going to need to consolidate a little bit. I do think this will continue higher. The reason I think it will continue higher is because of what happened with Crow. Now, if you remember, we talked about Crow the other day and, the partnership with Trump Media. This is Crow. So Crow did 144%. And so when we were talking about Crow, we were looking at it right here, and it was rejecting from this level of resistance around 23 and a half cents. And so we thought, okay, maybe it'll consolidate underneath here, and then it'll give one of those bull market pushes where it just breaks through resistance and continues higher. Well, it turns out it happened even quicker than I thought, because we didn't even get time to consolidate here. It just went straight towards the next level of resistance. So this isn't a trade that you could have even been in, but it was what we were exactly planning, where we thought we were going to come to this next level of resistance because there's so much air and space in between here that we're going to go back towards here at 37 cents. And so we did that. It just happened a lot quicker than I thought it would possibly even happen. We didn't even get consolidation. And this is because it had this big partnership with, obviously, Trump Media and U.S. Government things. And so that's why I think Pyth will probably do something similar, where there's not a whole lot more space like, Crow had, but I do think we probably continue higher, over the next coming days, back up towards at least this 32-cent area. Something like this. I probably expect us to, fill in this gap and continue higher, because there is just a big bid for Pyth. So I could see us doing something like that. And so hopefully that there's a trade to be had there, but it's very hard when the coin's up 114% on the day. So we're gonna have to wait and see for Pyth. Nothing to do for me. I wouldn't be trading this. It's very hard because it could also very easily just drop 50% in a day as well. So we're gonna have to wait and see if there's a little bit of consolidation for Pyth. But I do think we are having these altcoin rotations where there's not enough money to pump up the entire market right now. So different specific altcoins that are very news-based are getting all of the attention, whether it's Chainlink, for the last couple of weeks, whether it's Pyth, whether it's, Crow, whatever it might be, whether it's World Liberty Finance. Different altcoins are starting to get the limelight, and they're getting all the attention. So money is flowing out of different altcoins and into these specific ones. So you have to really pay attention to the different rotations going on right now. Which also leads me to the other altcoin that is leading right now, which is Solana. So Solana is quietly building momentum here. Big funds are raising billions of dollars to launch Solana treasury companies, and digital asset treasury companies are soon going to scoop up billions worth of SOL. We also have a potential SOL ETF approval coming. If you missed ETH at 1400, SOL is the catch-up trade you should not miss. And we have Zin saying Solana is now performing both Bitcoin and ETH. This is how phase 3 starts as liquidity starts flowing into large caps. If SOL pumps above 250, it'll be time to go heavy into other large caps. And we also have crypto wrestling. Solana Treasury Company, DeFi Dev Corp, has now acquired an additional 407,000 Solana, bringing total holds to over 1.8 million Solana for $371 million worth. So as Bitcoin and Ethereum were kind of going sideways and down yesterday, Solana was actually continuing higher and reached about $217 yesterday, up into this high time frame level of resistance right here. So we are at this resistance, but it does look strong. It looks like it's holding up. And I expect us to probably break above here pretty soon for Solana. Something like this. Eventually we'll come back up here and we'll retest this. And I imagine we'll probably go back towards these highs, towards 261 pretty soon. This is next level of major resistance. I think once we break above here, it's pretty much open skies, because we've never closed a daily candle above 261. And if we start to do that, I think we're going to see, towards $300 pretty soon. And so I think this level here between 217 and around 261, I think will probably go pretty quickly, as things start to ramp up more and more. So I think Solana is probably the catch-up trade here. And, now that we've had Ethereum do its huge run, we've had Bitcoin do its huge run, I think Solana is going to be the one to finally catch up here. We're going to start seeing a lot more treasury companies coming out with news on Solana, and we'll see something like this where we'll break above. It'll go to 261 pretty quickly. And then moving on to Ethereum, we have Merlin the Trader saying Ethereum is just following the Bitcoin script. Bitcoin 2018 to 2021 fractal, same crash, same recovery, same coil. ETH is now in the liftoff zone. The projection, 1,110%. So you can see here, this is Bitcoin back in 2018, and this is, Ethereum now. And so you can see here, they have this 83% drop, 342% rally, 63% drop, and then 1,110% rally. So right now we are just about here around, you can't see my cursor, but we're basically right around $5,000 on ETH on the right side here. And if we were to continue higher, he is targeting us around $15,000. That seems a little high to me for Ethereum, but it is possible. I mean, we've seen it go from $1,400 to $5,000 in the matter of like a month. So I'm not saying it's impossible. It does seem a little high to me. I am thinking, 10, like kind of like Virtual Bacon said, $10 to $12,000 for this cycle top seems realistic to me. But he's saying, somewhere between $15 and $18,000 for Ethereum. But then we also have Vanek, the Vanek CEO saying Ethereum is Wall Street's token. He says banks and financial firms adopting stablecoins will need blockchain rails, and the clear winner is ETH and EVM.
Ether has suddenly reared its head and hit new records. Tell me about your Ether ETF. What's in it, and why is it doing so well?
Right. So it's very much what I call the Wall Street token. And what I mean by that is if you think that because of stable coins now, every bank, and they are, and every financial services company has to have a way of taking in stable coins. If I want to send you stable coins, your bank has to figure it out, or you will find some other institution to do that. So the winner is who's going to be building on these blockchains. It's going to be some Ethereum or something that uses Ethereum's kind of methodology, which is called EVM. And so that's why ETH is because the Wall Street CTO is going to turn around saying, what the hell is this stuff? When am I going to build on? And it's going to be Ethereum.
And then lastly for today, we have Thailand taps KuCoin as the first global exchange for tokenized bond program. So Thailand's Ministry of Finance has tapped KuCoin as the first international crypto exchange to join the consortium of supporting its G-Token initiative, the world's first publicly offered tokenized government bond. KuCoin Thailand, the exchange's locally regulated arm, will handle subscriptions, redemptions, and listings alongside partners Xspring Digital, Six Network, and Krung Thai Xspring. The bonds will initially be listed on licensed domestic exchanges with the potential for a listing on KuCoin's global platform pending regulatory approval. The initial issuance amounts to 5 billion baht or $153 million, with the program aimed at widening retail investor access to sovereign debt. Thailand approved the tokenized bond program in May, becoming the first government to offer sovereign debt as digital tokens. So as Thailand and KuCoin's bond program, and Thailand's actually one of the countries that has been more crypto friendly than other countries. We have Thailand, we have Dubai, obviously, we have El Salvador, we have the U.S. now, but Thailand has been one of those countries that's also becoming more accepting of crypto as well, alongside these countries like Dubai and El Salvador. So that is the video for today, guys. We are hoping Bitcoin can hold back above this, this line here around $112,000. It kind of looks like it's just chopping around, waiting for this PCE data, waiting for a direction, really. I think we're kind of going in the point where we're going sideways. Bitcoin dominance is dropping, and it's a time to look at different altcoins and different altcoin rotations. Very heavily news driven, so make sure you're following all the top news sites on X or Twitter. And so we're gonna have to closely watch for all these different altcoin rotations. So that is the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on Monday.